Hopefully everybody was here last week when I gave the assignment for Chapter 9. The assignment for Chapter 9 was to do problems 5, 6, and I think 7. Let's see. No, 5, 6, and 9. So what we're going to do is right now, I shouldn't say right now. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over that test review. All right. And after we do that, we're going to do number 5, all of it, as a class. Then number 6, if you look on the screen here, you'll notice there's a Part A and there's a Part B. We're going to do Part A, all of it, as a class. Then notice number 9 has got a Part A and a Part B. We're going to do all of Part A as a class. So what you will be responsible for your homework for this chapter, again, I gave people time yesterday to key in. I want, you two also, I want that stuff that I gave you the hard copies of. I want you to key it in. Plus, I want you to do 5, 7, 5, 6, I guess. 5, 6, and 9. All right? So you will be responsible for doing parts B, 6B, and 9B. And we'll talk about those a little later today. Now, last week I gave you this. That's the Chapter 9 study guide. So if you can find that, please, we'll take a look at that right now. What I think we will end up doing, it'll take most of the period today to go over all the stuff I want to go over. Anything that's left, any time that's left, you'll have to work on lab. I think what I'm going to do is just give you lab all period tomorrow. And then Thursday, we will go over Chapter 10, and Friday we will finish up Chapter 10. Remember, especially if you weren't here yesterday, no class next Monday. School is closed next Monday. It's President's Day. So no school Monday, February 19th. Tuesday, we'll finish up anything we had on Chapter 10 and go into Chapter 11. All right? By the end of next week, we'll be done with the 11 chapters. We may or may not be able to get that test in next week. I don't know. I'm not that concerned with it. All right? So, yeah, some of you are grabbing this already. So, these are the answers to the first, 7 questions right here. Number 1, a C# constructor is automatically called when an object is created or instantiated. If you don't provide one, a default constructor with no parameters is created by C#. Number 2, only non-static methods receive a this reference. Number 3, you cannot overload an operator for a built-in data type. Number 4, an array of objects does not hold the actual value. Remember, that's the big thing with this for number 4. It holds the address of where those objects live in memory. Number 5, a GUI object such as a text box is not represented as an object that cannot encapsulate any methods. Number 6, the data components that differ for each object are called instance variables or fields. The set of contents of all the instance variables at any one time are known as its state. So we talked last week about a person object, and we talked about height, weight, eye color, hair color, etc. So each one of you, your gender, eye color, hair color, height, weight, that would represent for each one of you your state. Does all that make sense? Does everybody have those first 7? Okay. Class that instantiates objects of another pre-written class is known as a client or class user. Public means everybody can use it. It has unlimited access. Protected means the class can use it and any classes derived from that. It's like parents and children can use it. Internal has to do with that multi-file assembly that we talked about in the last chapter. Private All right. Now it says here, if you don't access this, it's private by default. Technically, the actual answer to that is internal. All right, so really you should make that internal. Does everybody have this? Does everybody have all of the first 12? Because there's more to part 12, I guess. Does everybody have this one, number 12? Let's pull that up then. All right, does everybody have all that now? Because the only thing that's left are the definitions, so I'll put that page up right now. See if I can cut this. Oops, cut this down. Damn it. That's it. Anybody need any of the earlier ones repeated? I'm going to print out a copy of this for Jesse. Everybody has it? Okay. Okay, what I'm going to put on here, just so you see this, you don't have to write this down. In fact, I'll make a copy of it, so don't just watch. All right, so again, today, something like that, I don't know. So today is 2/13, it's Tuesday, and we'll be going over the Chapter 9 problems. Tomorrow, the 14th, Wednesday, will be lab, all period. Thursday, we will do the written test for Chapter 9, then lecture demo for Chapter 10. And Friday, we will do then next week, there's no class on Monday. Tuesday, we'll just make a lab all period. Wednesday, we'll do the written test for Chapter 10. Then the lecture on Chapter 11. And then Thursday, we will go over the Chapter 11 problems. And then finally, Friday, we'll make it another lab day. Which will mean that Monday, right, 23rd, 26th, will be the written test for Chapter 11, and then lab the rest of the period. And Tuesday, the 27th, will be the hands-on test for Chapters 9 through 11. Alright, so this is, again, this is what I just wrote up on the board, and I'm giving you it because I want you to hold me to it. Yeah, we'll have level, period. Alright, it'll be a lap then. That'll work. Yeah, and on March 2nd, we'll have a middle school too, so. Have you figured out what we're doing for that day? No. I'm sure I'll figure it out the night before. All right, so again, I emailed all of you this morning. You all got an email from me that looks like this. It says, for class today, and it's got a zip file with 3 files in it. All right, so if you could take that, put it on your desktop or wherever you put it. There's mine. I've already unzipped it, so this is what's in it. It's got all of the, for lack of better words, it's got all the comments for each one of the programs. So we're going to do 3 programs right now. All right, we're going to do the car demo, which is number 5. Then we're going to do the taxpayer demo part 1, which is number 6. Then we're going to do the relatives list demo, first part, okay? So we'll do all 3 of these. And I'm not saying that every bit of this is going to make sense to you, but there's something to be said about repetition. All right? I'm sure you've all done something in your life where you've had to practice. Okay? I'm still in the middle of trying to teach myself to play guitar, so I've got this course that I bought, an online course. And it's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. The guy literally goes, okay, now it's up to you. And literally, it's just a black screen for 10 minutes. You're supposed to practice what he just told you. I've never seen anything like that before. I'm paying for dead air, and I thought, well, that's pretty good. All right. So what I'd like you to do is please start up Visual Studio. You know this drill pretty much by now. All right, so we're going to start it up. File, New. We're going to do a new project. It's going to be a console project. I'm just going to save all mine right on the desktop. You save yours wherever you want. You're going to have to turn these in. All right? So I'm going to call the first one is called Car Demo. That's what they tell you to call it in the book. One word, Car Demo. It's a console app. Any questions on any of that stuff? Where to save it, how to save it, etc.? All right, so save that. Click OK. That'll come up with this. Right now it's got car demo and it's only got a main in it. Okay? Take your cursor, please, and position it right there on line 6. Open up a new line 6. So go to the end of line 5 and hit enter. All right? Then, with the files that I gave you, find the one that's called cardemo.txt. This is it right here. Don't type this in, please. That's why I sent it to you. It's called cardemo.txt. Paste the whole file in. That will include the using static system.console and the comment that's from right out of the book. All right? You'll have a bit of typing to do today. Sorry about that. Everybody able to do that? Okay. Then, do you all understand, if you look up on your screen here, this right there, don't highlight that, but that as it says, that is your solution. Your solution contains your project. It is totally permissible in Visual Studio for one solution to contain multiple projects. We don't do that here, but you can do it. If you were working on a really big application that maybe you had a lot of people working on, you might very well do that. We don't get to that kind of an extreme. But what I want you to do is to right mouse click where it says car demo on the name of your project. Right mouse click on there, choose add, and go to new item. When you do that, you'll be immediately shown this add new item dialog. Yours should look it should look exactly like this. If the word class is not the one that's highlighted, so if it doesn't say class1.cs down here, then just single click on it. Don't click OK. Just single click on it. We want to change the name. We don't want to call this class1.cs. We want to call this car with a capital C. car.cs. All right? Then you can click add, and you now have two files in here. The one that we got when we started, program.cs, and the one we just added, which is car.cs. We don't need to do any read line or write line in this file, so we don't need to use it. We've already added a comment. This file is just going to contain the code for the car class. That's it. All right? This one is going to look a little bit different, so let's go back. You don't have to do this, but just please look here. This is what it says. Create an application named car demo. We've already done that. That should declare at least 2 car objects. We're going to do that inside of main in just a couple minutes. You hear me? All right. We want to demonstrate how they can be incremented using the overloaded plus plus operator. Remember what plus plus does? It adds 1 to a variable. All right. Create a car class. This is what we're going to do right now. It's going to contain a model and a value for miles per gallon. Okay? Include 2 overloaded operators. One of these operators will accept 2 parameters. A parameter for the model, which will be a string. I used Mercedes-Benz and Porsche, because those are 2 of those vehicles that I always wanted but will never be able to have. You can put whatever you want in there. I don't really care. But you have to be consistent. So in other words, if you decide in yours you're not going to use that, you want to use Yugo and Honda, you can do that. But then every place where I've got Mercedes-Benz and Porsche, you'll have to change yours accordingly. Or else just leave what I've got. All right? Then we'll have another that accepts a model, just a model. So one will accept a model and a miles per gallon. One will accept only a model. You'll see this in a minute. Then, and this sounds real hard, it literally is about 3 lines of code. We will overload the plus plus operator so that it takes whatever value you've got for miles per gallon and it'll add 1 to it. So if your miles per gallon was 10, it's now 11, type of an idea. The car demo application creates at least 1 car using each of these 2 constructors and displays the car values before and after they've been incremented. It's really, it's not very difficult. It may or may not sound difficult, but it's not. So we're going to start going over into our car class. We're going to write this right now. All right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write what I like to call a no-arg. Actually, it's not a no-arg. We're going to call this a 1-arg constructor. Now, I go a little nuts here, I've been told, with my comments, all right? But you should really put something in there, okay? So, that one, well, that was interesting. Okay, nobody even laughed. I left the L out of public. Either you didn't see it or, whatever. You weren't quick enough on the uptake there. And that was not done on purpose. All right, let's see. R does not contain this constructor that takes 2 arguments. Well, we're going to fix that right now. So if you get that error, don't worry about it. We're going to fix it. Because not only are we going to come in here and have a 1-arg constructor, we are also going to have a 2-arg constructor. All right? So this will be string name. And that says, this will say model. And why am I getting that error? We're going to fix these errors. Notice how that one error got fixed? This one will get fixed in just a minute. We're going to create that. So don't worry about it. You see errors in here? Don't worry. It just means we haven't put in all the code yet. All right? We literally have to put in 1, 2, about 5 more lines of code and about 5 or 6 more lines of comments. All right? Does everybody have that? All right. Then we got to do our getters and setters. I'm going to have 2 getters and setters. I'm going to have one for the model. And then when I get done, I'm going to have one for the MPG. And this is all you need to write. Public, string, model, get, set. And we can replicate that. So this will say MPG, getter setter. Now, please look up on the screen. Please, even if you're typing, just stop. Notice, other than MPG here, and that's wrong. This should be a big M. I apologize. Make that a big M. All right. And that'll be a double. So notice now, I'm going to go back and show you everything. There are no errors. See that? There are no errors anymore. So taking it from the top, we had our 1-arg constructor right there. Everybody should have that in. Then we had our 2-arg constructor. What's the difference? Not to be an ass or anything, but the first one has one argument. The second one has 2 arguments. All right? The one with 1 argument says, hey, use the name that you pass in and use 20 for the miles per gallon. Does that make sense? The second one says, whatever you pass in for MPG, that becomes the miles per gallon. Whatever you pass in for model, that becomes the model. So in other words, this right here where it says string name, that is going to be the model. All right? Then we do our getters and setters. That's pretty doggone easy. We are not doing any validation. Everybody hear me? We're doing no validation. So if for some reason you pass in the empty string, then that model is going to be the empty string. If you pass in miles per gallon -73, your miles per gallon is going to be -73. We don't care in these examples right now about validation. We're more concerned with trying to get the idea down of what in the heck we're doing. All right? So we've got one more thing to do here. And it literally, after we write the method, it's 2 lines of code after we write the method. And then we're done with this file. All right, so this is going to be the overloaded ++ operator. that is the entire file right there. 48 to 50 lines. That's it. We're going to go back and we're going to write the method. All right. So we're going to go back and we're going to write the method. After we write the method and test it, no, I'm sorry, after we write main and test it, we'll take a break, and then we're going on to the next one. All right. All of main together probably is about 15 lines. All right. Does anybody need any of this shown to you again? Everybody have this? All right, then switch back, please, to the other file, this one. And we're going to start writing our main right now. Remember, main in an ideal world, main is a driver. Do you all hear me? All right. So we're going to create two car objects. We'll say car, we'll just call it C1 for car 1, or you can call it whatever you want, equals new car. All right. And notice, if you look up on the screen here, it says, look, I've got two ways that I can do this. All right. This is IntelliSense. And it's telling me I either have to do it like this, or I have to do it like that. Okay. So I'm going to do that one first. So I'm going to say in here, Mercedes-Benz. And we'll put in 35, probably in my dreams. All right. Then we're going to do another car object. And, oh, I don't know why the hell it said car demo there. All right, you don't need that. This new car. And we're going to say here Porsche. And if you don't like that, then just say whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. All right. We'll keep it there for right now. I just want you to type that in. We're going to have our first break a little later because we started a little bit later today. All right. Now, you're all intelligent people. Please look up on the screen. When the system sees this, it says, okay, I've got to create a new car object. I have to look for a constructor that requires a string and a number. That makes sense? Requires two parameters. So it goes back to this file, and it says, okay, there's a string, doesn't have a number. There's a string and a number. So MPG, which we said was 35, that goes into this variable. Mercedes-Benz goes into this variable. Does that make sense? All right. When we go to this one, the system says, oh, we're creating a new car, and it only has one argument. It's a string. So it jumps back to car, and it says, do we have a constructor that requires just a string? Yes, we do right here. So that becomes the model, and 20 is put in there for the default for the miles per gallon. So if we printed these out right now, it should say Mercedes-Benz 35, Porsche 20. That makes sense? All right. Because right now I'm going to call a routine that does not exist yet. I'm going to call a routine to display this. So when I put this line of code into our file, when I put this line, we're going to get the red squigglies. It's going to tell me you're trying to call something that doesn't exist. We'll fix that in just a couple minutes. All right? So I'm going to come in here and just put a comment in that says display current values for car C1. All right, display. Like I said, we get those squigglies by the word display because it's looking for a routine called display. It doesn't find it. It gets confused. It doesn't know exactly what to do. All right? So now I'm going to say C1, actually just plus C1. All right? Now I'm going to say display updated values for car C1. All right, so I'll say here Mercedes-Benz after update. Okay? And maybe you figured this out already. We're going to do the exact same thing. So copy this, drop it underneath, and we're going to use C2. Okay? So you can grab all of this code right here, copy it to the clipboard, paste it in. So I now have all of these. So this will now say Porsche, however the heck you say it, at beginning. And this will say Porsche after update. So it'll have to be, look on the screen here, everywhere it says C1, it'll have to be C2. So right now, we have 4 errors. You can see where each one of those errors are. You're all smart people. You can tell what the error is. So we have to write the display routine. That routine, after we write it, has a grand total of 3 spanking lines inside of the curly braces. Then we're done. So we'll go back and kind of dissect this and look at what we've just done. All right? And, of course, that's a mistake because there is no car C12. That should be C2. All right? Maybe you already caught that yourselves. I don't know. Does everybody have this? I'm going to come in there now and write that routine. Public, static, void, display, string, we'll just call it message, car, C. Notice all our squigglies are gone, right? Now, if we call this method, it wouldn't do a darn thing because we didn't put any code in there yet. All right? So we want to say write line, message, and then we'll do another write line. Yesterday, you asked a question, Evan, about putting that -10 and all. Let's just put in some blank spaces just to make it easier. In fact, we'll put in a tab here. So we'll tab, \T, and then we'll say model. Get rid of that. Come on, get out of there. Now I'm going to another line just so it doesn't go off the page. All right. You don't have to, but you can. Doesn't matter. Somebody answer me this question, please. What do I have to put here to make sure that the display stays on screen, that it doesn't go away? What? Read line. That's everything. That's the whole spanking program for number 5. Now, some of you might still be typing. I'll come right back to it. Good time to click your double disk icon to do a save all. All right? And I'm going to run it. See if it works. Make sure I didn't make any mistakes. You go, it doesn't have everything. it's got a read line in the middle of it. We're stopping. So it says at the beginning, we had a Mercedes-Benz with 35 miles per hour, or per gallon rather. Hit again. All right, we had a Porsche, which was there. All right, well, that's screwed up. So I already can tell I made a mistake there. All right, so something's screwed up. So I'm going to have to fix those, right? But you can see I'm getting my stuff. That's good. That's what I want. Not sure why it looks as bad as it does, but it looks pretty bad because the answers are wrong. This should say Mercedes-Benz after update. It shouldn't say model Porsche. It should say model Mercedes-Benz, and the MPG should be 36. This is right. This is right, but this should say 21. So I got to go back and look at it because when I was doing this, again, I talked with Ryan yesterday, the guy who teaches in here after me, and I didn't even know there was a term for this, but I'll typically prepare something for class, but then while I'm giving it to you, I'm rewriting it in my head. So a lot of times what I give you isn't what I have here. He says, oh, you're live coding. I didn't even know that was a term, but evidently that's a term. So yeah, I'm live coding. Pretty cool. I didn't know that. All right, so let's go back and look at this. Plus C1. Oh, look. Mercedes-Benz after update. That would probably be good to write a 1 there, wouldn't it? That's one thing that's wrong. And look here. Plus C2. All right, let's see if we make those two changes, what it did. All right, Mercedes-Benz 35, 36. Well, that's good. Porsche 20, Porsche 21. It is now correct. Now, I picked this one for two reasons. First of all, it was pretty darn simple. You may not agree with that looking at it, but it was. And second of all, going along with it being simple, we can now spend 5 minutes kind of decomposing it, and hopefully it'll make some sense to you. All right? Like I said, Ryan and I, we had this talk yesterday. He was telling me about one of his students. I don't want to get into too much depth and breadth of coverage because you may know the student. All right? But the student has not been doing well this semester at all. Okay? And the student took a test yesterday, and it was the first one they came close to passing. And I said, well, that's good. He said, yeah, but if you would have seen the student, they were like dancing. They were ready to leave. They were happy as hell. And I said, because they didn't pass but almost passed? He said, yeah, because they got that close. All right? And it's like, sometimes I think people, you think you've got to understand everything. Nobody does. All right? Except my older brother Dick, because he always used to tell me, I understand everything. All right? Okay. What I want you to understand is this. We already mentioned this. Does everybody get, I went over this with you, does everybody get what happens when we call those two things? Both of those are calling constructors, so it's going to look in the car.cs class. In the first case, it looks for a constructor that's got a string and a number. The string becomes the model, the number becomes the miles per gallon. In the second one, it just has a string. Since there is no number passed, it finds the constructor where it puts in a default miles per gallon of 20. Does that make sense? Conceptually, does that make sense to people? All right. Then we come in and we say, okay, this is everything at the beginning. So we're printing it all out. And then we add 1 to it. What is that plus C1 doing? Well, that comes back over to here, and it adds 1 to the miles per gallon. That's all it does. And then we come back to here, and we print the after. So this first one says Mercedes-Benz at the beginning, and it says model name, model Mercedes-Benz MPG 35. Then it says Mercedes-Benz after update. Model Mercedes-Benz miles per gallon or MPG 36. Then we do the same exact thing, but with the Porsche. All right? And in all four of these cases, here and here and here and here, we're calling this. We're calling display. And what display is telling us to do is say the name of the model. That means this. And the name of the MPG, and that means this. Now, you may look at what's right there, and that may be confusing to you. We've done a little bit of work with that before, so I brought it back out there. This right here, I believe I'm going to try it, okay? So let me grab this. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy those two lines, and I'm going to put them right underneath where they currently are, all right? Then I'm going to comment out the original two that I know work already. All right, and I'm going to say here model, because again, if you find this confusing, then we could have said this. All right, we should have been able to say here plus C dot model dot toString. You have to spell string right. Plus, I'm going to line it all up just so you can see what's going on here. MPG plus C.MPG.toString, and it's given me that because I stupidly did not put in the parens here. All right, now I'll comment out this line. I should get the exact same output from here that I got from here. Let's see if indeed that's the case. Model, Mercedes-Benz. All right. Well, it doesn't look, I don't have the before and after, but you get the idea. So that works. All right. The idea behind doing it this way is you saw I had it looking a little bit different, so it looked a little bit more formatted. But good or bad or neither, there's always plenty of different ways in this language of doing the same thing. Yes, sir. He is in the conference room. If you want to stop in there, yeah, he's taking a test. But if you need to see him for a couple minutes, that should be fine. So what we're doing in this program is we are creating two car objects, instantiating two car objects. That's what these two lines are doing. You don't have to do this, but instantiate two car objects. All right. After we instantiate each one, we display the original value of the first one, then add 1 to the miles per gallon and display it again. Then we display the original second one, add 1 to the miles per gallon, and display it again. All right? Does, conceptually at least, I'm asking every one of you, does what we're trying to do here make sense? All right? Then let's take a break. It's 9:16. Let's come back at 9:30, and we're going to write the next one, which is the taxpayer demo. If you want to get ahead, I'm done with this, so I'm going to do a file, save all right, and now I'm going to do a file, close solution, and I'm going to start another new project. It's going to be another console project at my desktop, and this is going to be called taxpayer demo. So please come back at 9:30.